Hello, my name is Alan Pickering. I'd like to show you a modification I've done on my Ross Yolk water-cooled Stirling engine. I want it to run very slowly, and so what I've done is put a separate balance weight down here, or two separate balance weights if you like, because the engine was quite unbalanced. This is one of the snags with the Ross Yolk design. It's got a lot of ironmongery around it, going up and down, and it's quite difficult to balance. So I've got two yolks on there, and I've put these other two brass weights onto one of them in order to get a smoother, slower running engine. It warms up very quickly, and I'll switch it on now if I can hold this camera reasonably still while I light the burner. On with the gas. There we go. It's starting to move already. Just thinking about it. A little tweak. There she goes, and that's only about 15 seconds from cold. Now if I turn this flame down a bit, there we go. That should suddenly start just ticking over at, I reckon, about 2 turns per second. There's the water cooling tank, which goes down and feeds through this horizontal tube and cools the half of the displacement cylinder. This brass shield is just to keep the flames from going places where I don't want them. Little transfer pipe, a little valve underneath there just to get rid of the oil, saves emptying the engine upside down, and a little tiny lever on here just to make sure there's no air coming out of the thing. There you go, a drop of water coming out now. It shows that there's no airlocks in there. Now this is running fast at the moment, and I think if I was to turn the flame down a little bit, There we go, the flame's nearly out. And you can't get much slower than that. There's no power there, mind you, but it's a demonstration engine, and it'll go along like that for hours on end. And it's not using any gas. In fact, I can turn it down a bit now. There we go. Now, how smooth is that? Yeah, I'm very impressed with that. It's not like a Chinese CNC engine screaming around at 3000 RPM. I built this in, when did I build it? 2018. I don't know whether that'll pick it up or not. Yeah, there we go. Nearly. I'll put this little sign on here. Do not fire without coolant water. That's because underneath here I've got a rubber gasket, and with a flame there wafting round it, I wouldn't like anything nasty to happen to it. It's quite hypnotic. Mind you, because it's running slowly, it doesn't want to run fast. I'll turn it up, get a little bit more go in it if I can. It's got some power there. I could stop it if I squeeze hard enough, but it would drive something. I'll turn this down a bit. This is a little burner out of a camping sort of kettle boiling thing for when you go out hiking. It was only about a £5, and I made it into this big heavy lump here with magnets underneath and a little thing just to locate it, like so. Saves the pipe pulling it all over the place. The reason it's running slowly is because it's reasonably well balanced, but the main thing is it's low compression, and if you have a high compression engine, or even more so one that's pressurized, all they want to do is scream round. And the displacer cylinder in this, there's probably a 3/8 of an inch gap right round the cylinder, and so there's an awful lot of free space in there, and this is useless space. You don't normally want it, but if you want your engine to run slowly, you need a low compression. Otherwise it's jumping all over the place trying to get over top dead centre, and so to get it smooth you've got to start making it run fast. The cylinder, I think it came out of a Seagull outboard motor. It was a seized up thing that I found in the junk box, about 1.5 inches diameter, and I put it into a stainless steel cylinder. This is the Ross Yolk mechanism, a very difficult mechanism I found to make work. I made the engine in about a month or something like this. It took me another week to make it work, simply because the alignments are so difficult to get 100% perfect, and if they're not, it just will not work. You've got to get all these alignments here spot on. And you can make these things up on the bench and get your alignments right. When you get it to the engine, just one thou here and there, it'll stop the engine. All these little parts here, all these little things around here and here and in here and here, they're all bearings. Some are little tiny ball races, others, like the big end, are quite big lumps. I just used what I'd got basically. The length of the stroke can be adjusted by the length of this vertical arm here. That's one of the peculiarities of the Ross Yolk design. But to get the geometry right is an absolute sod, there's no question about it. Well, I found it so. I've built loads of engines, half a dozen hot air engines included, and this one has been by far the most difficult from the design point of view. I don't think there's another one anything like this. This is an inverted Ross Yolk, but there's nothing that you can't sort of pin down the length of the stroke and the bore and the length of conrods and the general bore of the thing. You can't seem to pin it down on a sheet of paper. It's got to be done on the bench with bits of cardboard and pins. Well, in theory that's okay, but in practice, once you get it down to lumps of metal and you start machining, that's another story. Let me turn this down, it's nearly screaming its head off. It's like a buzz box. That's a bit more like it. So there we have it. This is basically a quick look around the workshop, which is an extension of my double garage basically. That's a slotted machine, which is a bit of a white elephant now. Finished building my traction engines. It was only really used for like keyways. Polishing machine. Nobody should be without one of those. And of course, nothing. You've got to have a bandsaw. And in the corner, a lovely little device called an XL surface grinder, plough grinder. BOC 180 amp welder, and just through the curtain here you might be able to just see, a bit dark to say the least, but there is a hacksaw machine. Bench with all the drawers full of steel and bits and pieces. Old bread boxes from a bakery. Built the bench around them. Tapping machine, quite handy, but you can live without one. It does. Taps things, gets them fairly square. All the bits are hanging from the roof. As you can see, everything is in arm's reach, basically. That's the music system. Let me put the light on. See if I can get a bit of light on the subject. There you go. 20-ton Epco press. Quite a useful thing. And that's for folding fodder. It goes up and down. Bits of material. Bandsaw mending machine. Coordinate drill. Everything's 3-phase. That's my big lathe, the Big Mitchell. These are a few pictures of model engineer covers that I've had published in the past. Round we go. Union grinder. Little bench grinder. That's a twist grill, Dormer twist drill grinding machine. That's a diamond lap for doing tungsten carbide tip tools. Banco linisher, the most useful machine in the workshop by a long way, with a carbide belt. 3 Morse taper drill, electrisca. Little tool grinding machine there, 4 grindstones on it. Another lathe tool grinder. There's my pride and joy. Smart and Brown Model M. Had it forever. There are all the quick change tool posts and collets and bits and pieces that go with it. Dehumidifier, very, very essential. Welding rod cabinet. This is my big Mitchell. Very nice machine, very cheap to buy, only cost me 400 quid. This is one of the machines that built the Titanic, I think. Great big hole down the centre, very useful. Little Corona drill. Another table on it. These are very useful. Couple of compressors joined together, giving you 5 horsepower. Bought from the supermarket, all piped up, ready to go. Let's have a look what's going on down here. There she is, look at that, still going round, screaming its head off. Brown and sharp, mill, does everything if you know how to work it. Far too complex for me, but the beauty of it is it's horizontal and vertical, and the bed moves in all directions. Quite a rare bit of kit. Again, this was used to build the Titanic. Little place where I do my silver soldering. Spare bits and pieces, first aid, doesn't get used too often. Little wire brushing machine. Another nice big vise. This is a cleaner for cleaning engine parts, full of diesel. Just moving into the garage, switch the light on. Not that there's a lot to see out here, but there you go. There's a picture of my big saw. Cropper. Air supplies. So that's it then. That's my little model engineering world. A last look at my little engine there, which I'm very pleased about. You can leave it running for hours on end. It's not using any gas, and it's not driving anybody stupid. Turn the gas down a bit. There it is. It's going to appear apparently on the pages of Model Engineer this year. There's supposed to be a front cover picture of it. There we go, you can't get much slower than that, can you? So, that's Alan Pickering signing off. And this is round about December 2018. And there it is, still going round, would you believe it? With no gas in it.